Life's too short to drive boring cars. So if you're like me and you've been shopping for cars during this whole world crisis, then you've probably noticed that almost every single car and brand is way more money to buy today than it was even, say, 6 months ago. Everybody's escalating prices. The dealers are making a lot of money and the manufacturers are going crazy just trying to supply them because of the shortages at the supply chain end. Everybody is gouging this year. It's hard to get a deal. Everybody's charging way over sticker. Production facilities are shutting down because they don't have the parts to put into these vehicles. And ultimately, low availability means you're going to compete with the next person who wants the same vehicle and you're going to pay more than you probably should. And if you can believe it, the luxury car market is even worse because now that people are sitting home, they're not traveling, they're not spending in restaurants, people are spending that saved money and now they're treating themselves with some wonderful new luxury vehicles. But if you can believe it, I'm going to share with you folks a list of 5 great luxury vehicles that you can get way under list if you negotiate properly in this insane time. Let's get into it now. One of the best vehicles on the list, and I'm not going to talk about reliability, but we will talk about value today. When no one else is giving good deals, Alfa Romeo is certainly giving a great deal. If you negotiate, the average person is actually paying 8% under sticker on the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. And here we are, we got the Stelvio, which is essentially underpinnings is a duplication of the Alfa Romeo Giulia, which is the sedan, like we see right here. This is the Giulia. And the Stelvio is actually chock full of technology, Apple CarPlay, and all of the other plugins that you could possibly ask for from the digital perspective. You've got great exhaust tips there, 1 and 2, and it actually has one of the best sounding 4-cylinder turbo engines anywhere. And it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine that belts out 280 horsepower and over 300 pound-feet of torque. Sounds way better than the BMW X3, which is one of its closest competitors. Now these range in price anywhere from about $42,000 for the base, all the way up to about $82,000 for the fire-breathing 505 horsepower Quadrifoglio version. Now they are a little bit on the compact size, but let's take a look. Massive, great, love these wonderful headlights. We've got all kinds of vents, but you'll notice this is very much like what you find on the Giulia here. And of course the massive trademark Alfa Romeo grille means this vehicle just absolutely looks wonderful coming down the road at you. Circling around, and you look down the side, it absolutely is full of contours and shapes, and it was definitely created by an artist. Look at those flares and those haunches there. Definitely has an aggressive stance. Even on the back, very, very sharp. Definitely has a sporting look to it. You've got soft touch there. And the mirror, which is great because it actually contrasts the paint. So you have this black finish all the way around. Red, black, absolutely stunning looking spec on this vehicle. You got these wonderful luggage racks to haul that garbage, maybe a couch or some plywood or drywall. And the interior is absolutely juicy, and you can actually get it outfitted with leather top on the dashboard and the seats. You also have a wonderful infotainment system, which is tucked away in there nice and snug. And it's great because it also runs with an 8-speed automatic transmission, which shifts absolutely aggressively and seamlessly. The only thing that's a little underwhelming is the size of the brakes. Look how small the discs look behind that 20-inch wheel, and which, by the way, you can get up to a 21-inch wheel in certain specs. Also has a great rocker panel, a little bit prominent to give it that sporting look. If you look down the side here, it definitely has a little bit of an extra lip and edge to it. I love the color matching fender lips here. Headlight washers. So even though the reliability is still being worked out, they're getting better year on year. At the end of the day, you can get an amazing, one of the best performing and handling and sounding SUVs in its class. And another one on our list is the Acura TLX. What we have here, it ranges anywhere from $37,000 to about $53,000 sticker price, but you can actually get it for quite a bit less. Now the TLX is a great looking vehicle. Obviously, they have these wonderful headlights, which are a little busy, but they're quite interesting nonetheless. How about the front end? You definitely have a little bit of a chin spoiler there. It would suggest a little bit more aggressive look. And I kind of like the chrome touches there. And I love the chrome around here. And that funny little soft touch right here on this little skinny mini handle. How about that little basic looking sunroof? And the LED taillights, which definitely smells like a Honda and an Acura. But how about those little accents? I mean, that does not look bland. I love that chrome accent there. And you've got 1 and 2 tailpipes in this Acura. Of course, it's a shh, don't make so much noise because it's an all-wheel drive. And it's the TLX. What about these great little alloy wheels that essentially almost look laser cut? And then there's the interior, which isn't overly dressed up, but it definitely has enough quality to it to make you feel like you're not in a low-rent vehicle by any stretch of the imagination. considered the 7-second knockout by executives because the intent was to be exciting and a knockout when it came out and was released. And it makes 272 horsepower from that turbo 4-cylinder engine. Now, base models typically come in front-wheel drive, but in the all-wheel drive model like this one here, you have all wheels driving at the asphalt. Now, in a Type S, there's also a V6 that makes about 355 horsepower and cracks 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, and that's the hot model that you want to get, and that might be the one that you can also get a better deal on as well. Now, they're also very frugal too because they can get up to 31 miles per gallon on the highway or even 29 on the freeway. So they're very good on fuel. They deliver the punch and the goods, and they give you the luxury that you look for in a luxury vehicle. Now, every one of these features a 10.2-inch infotainment system, and it actually comes standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as Wi-Fi outputs. But the beauty is, records show that people who sit down, write the paperwork, and negotiate and grind it out with the dealers are able to negotiate an average of 7% under MSRP, and that's on base model. You can even do better on the upscale Type S. So work it, and guaranteed you'll get a great deal on a phenomenal car that will last a long, long time, the Acura TLX. Now, the next car on my list is absolutely an amazing one to drive, and it's this wonderful little blue hot rod behind me, and it's the Alfa Giulia. Now, there we have it, and we won't talk about reliability because everybody knows the Italian cars are going to struggle with reliability, but if you want a fun car and one of the best performance cars in its class, this car makes 280 horsepower from its 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo engine, and you can upgrade to the Quadrifoglio, which is a V6 twin turbo that makes 505 horsepower and is an absolute beast. But if you want something and go on a little bit of a risk and a gamble, this Italian hot rod is one of the best sounding vehicles. As you can see right there, you've got 1, 2 tailpipes, and they're that wonderful high gloss black tailpipe, and you've got this great little splitter, and this paint is absolutely to die for. There's your Giulia and that wonderful Alfa Romeo badge that actually means something in Europe, and certainly if you want something Italian, it's a great place to start. Now, it has all the technology that you could possibly imagine. It has some of the coolest wheels that I have seen on any production vehicle in recent years, and of course there's your Alfa Romeo caliper, and some great texturing on the side. And how about that high piano gloss black mirror? But we can't forget all of that glass sunroof that pops up and tilts back, so it gives you lots of open air for the passengers in the back. Now, because it's Italian, style is often a big part of the theme, and as such, you're gonna have a lot of this contrasting black high gloss piano finish all over the place, and that's really gonna make it pop. Now, zooming over here, you're gonna see a very aggressive front spoiler, obviously a little bit of a chin stick out there, and you've got some great themes happening, as well as that wonderful front grille that you also find on the Stelvio, such as this. Because ultimately the Stelvio and the Giulia are basically on the same platform with the same drivetrains. Now, these range in price anywhere from about $41,000 US up to about $80,000 in quad format. And where the real value comes in with these cars is you can actually negotiate as much as 7 or 8% off of sticker, because the numbers I'm throwing out there are based on historicals and what people have been able to negotiate. These cars have been harder to sell. They're a niche market. And at the end of the day, if you're serious and you sit down with the manager, you can knock yourself 7% off those sticker prices and get yourself one of the finest Italian sports cars, albeit maybe not the most reliable vehicles on the market today, the Alfa Romeo Giulia. So the next great choice is what we have parked behind us here, and it's a Cadillac XT4. And what's so special about this? It's just yet another small SUV in the segment of mass amounts of SUVs, but it does compete directly with the BMW X1. Now, these start at about $37,000 and go up to about 40 grand when you add the sport trim. Now, you can get up to 20-inch wheels, and they do have this awesome Cadillac front headlights, and of course the bold grille that's consistent with the brand. Love these mirrors, very unique and edgy. Large glass panel on top, and of course you've got this wonderful chrome or brushed aluminum top trim. Again, typical Cadillac is those wonderful taillights, almost feels very Volvo to me. But there you have the XT4, and this one's the all-wheel drive, but you can get it either standard front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive like you see here. Now, this has a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine that makes around 237 horsepower, and can slowly scant this thing up to 60 miles per hour in about 7.9 seconds. Now it is quite attractive, but it does have quite a harsh ride. For a luxury vehicle, this is a little bit of abrupt, and when you're on less than perfect pavement, you'll find this thing a little bit jarring. Let's take a look. Got the great little trim around the wheel wells, and of course plastic along the bottom to protect from stones, but they add the extra little trim there to give it a little pop. Beautiful wheels here on this Caddy. And I love the edginess. This is actually a very attractive small SUV and quite pretty. As a matter of fact, I actually prefer the looks of this over the BMW X1. Not to say it's a better vehicle, it's not. However, certainly from a styling perspective, it's a great looking vehicle. You've also got great little chrome accents around the windows and soft touch on the handles. The interior is slightly low rent and does feel more like your base model products from GM. But that's not that big of a deal because these start around 37 grand, go up to about $40,000. But guess what? There's some great news, and this is where it gets interesting. You can get these way below MSRP without even negotiating. GM is offering about 10% off on old 2020 models and as much as 5% off on 21 models with extra incentives on top of it for lease and finance. Consider some haggling and you can get this anywhere from 5 to 10% below MSRP all day long, and you'll truly have one of the sportiest, most interesting new SUVs on the market, the Cadillac XT4. And the next car on my list is actually surprisingly reliable and actually a lot better value and bang for buck than a lot of people give it credit for, and it's the Volvo S60 right here. It actually has a lot of great styling attributes. Look at the front headlights. We've got LEDs. Now they actually, for this year, they finally turn. When the steering turns, the headlights turn with it. You also have some great black accent throughout. Lots of that piano gloss black. And again, lots of additional trim here. You'll notice the mirrors are piano gloss black there, as well as the trimmer on the windows, giving it an overall stylish appeal. It has the soft touch. It has some great looking alloy wheels. And what about this wonderful sunroof? Actually, it's a two-part, gives additional lighting for the cabin and the passengers. Some interesting accents, even around the fender wells. And the contour is actually very, very sporty along the side. Very well-designed vehicle. Look at the back, of course, we've got these wonderful tail lights. Beautiful, typical Volvo fashion. You've got that wonderful style. It's just extended on the SUV, very, very sharp looking. And here we've got 1 and 2 exhaust tips. And what we see here is a T5 all-wheel drive. Beautiful. And these vehicles range from $37,000 up to $64,000, so there is quite a significant upgrade cost, but there's some serious cost savings in buying these. Now they're also great because you can get 8-speed automatic transmission, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 12-inch infotainment system, as well as heads-up display on many of the models as an upgrade. And honestly, the interior in the new S60 is actually better than what I've seen in recent BMWs. The quality of the seats, the bolstering is exceptional, and the infotainment and the center console is of the highest caliber. Certainly one of the most impressive within its category. The S60 has a wonderful, clean interior. And this is the one you want, T6R, all-wheel drive, of course, and it's a Polestar. But the T5 basically offers up as standard front-wheel drive, and that's where some of its competitors might be deemed as a little more entertaining. As standard, it's front-wheel drive, but you can get the all-wheel drive upgrade, and it comes with the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine. It makes about 250 horsepower. But it's the T6 that's probably the best value because the T6 gives you another 66 horsepower by the use of an additional supercharger on top of that. It gives you a little more power, a little better thrust and response out of the hole. And then there's a T8 which offers up the plug-in hybrid component, and you can get over 400 horsepower on the hybrid / supercharged turbocharged version, and it makes for a very interesting and exciting driving experience. But what does all this value come at? You can actually get this vehicle for 6% under sticker, and that's been proven time and time again. That's where these numbers are coming from. And the 6% that you can honestly gain on these below sticker translates to about $4,000 in top trim. It's huge value. People are typically paying less than the MSRP tag because Volvo's motivated, and these vehicles are much better than people give them credit for. And unfortunately, they don't get the recognition, and therefore they're not quite as sought after, and they typically go for slightly less money. These are one of the underdogs in the industry, the Volvo S60, and truly worth a second look if you're looking at a great sports sedan. And with all of that said, be sure to click on that video. It's going to share the whole story as to why I now have to sell my Mercedes that I only bought a year ago. It's going to shed a whole lot of light. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.